Those compressed windows are obviously really key areas in the schedule to try to get right and get an advantage. And you're talking about this year with the World Cup being in the winter time, which it isn't normally, and now the schedule being more compressed. I mean, imagine this sort of fits in with a lot of the principles in the book around, you mentioned periodizing carbohydrate. If we talk about some examples, what are some of the strategies you might use to try to get some of your players up to that 6, 7, sometimes 8 grams per kilo of carbohydrate, depending on how many minutes they're logging? Is there certain things around liquid forms or the post-training meals? Like, how are you adjusting some of those factors?
First of all, we don't get our players anywhere near 8 grams per kilogram. So I'd like to be upfront and honest that I don't think many footballers will get near that. There's still a degree of carb phobia that's out there, but we are tackling it. And I think we tend to get around the 5 to 6 grams per kilogram. And certainly the supplements that can help around that are quite concentrated, that we would advise the day before a game and on the morning of a game, that can certainly help. With post-recovery, obviously, that's an excellent window. It's been shown you don't have to get in that 1 to 2 hour window. The GLUT4 heightened receptors will stay there for a good while, but it's just convenient, and it works to have I use Matt Jones's he's a nutritionist at West Ham, his kind of 4-phase approach, where it has opportunities immediately after the game, the snack that they take away with them, the main meal, and also the snack before they go to bed. And we're looking to get the right amount of carbohydrates and protein. So we're looking about 1 to 1.2 kilograms per body weight of carbohydrates, about 0.4 grams per kilogram of protein, and then the fat tends to take care of itself. But one of the main reasons I came up with the Colour Fit concept was I was trying to promote carb periodization to our players. Is without doubt the best way to go for somebody that's got to train harder, compete regular. The fantastic work by Burke show quite clearly, if we do that, so basically carb periodization, very simple, just increase your amount of carbohydrates around hard training and competition, and decrease them when it's less. And then by that way, you can get your performance when it needs to be there. You can also keep a good lean body composition, and you can also stay healthy by when you're not competing at those high levels. You're going to decrease your amount of carbohydrate and promote foods that are going to promote being healthy and promote having a lean body composition. So it's kind of holy triad. But what I actually found with my players were they're having a real polarized approach to carb periodization, and it was rather unhealthy, I'd say, lacking in whole foods and the like. So what I'd see is around hard training competition, lots of refined grains and processed foods, so the likes of high sugar content, high refined grain content, so just your white breads, your pastas, your cereals, lots of bars and the like. And when they were coming away from it, the ones that did decrease the carbohydrate, they kind of went to what I typically saw was a super high protein approach, where there was lots of meat and eggs and things like that, bars and the like, and they were just avoiding whole foods that we're trying to promote to them. And whole foods are a bit more tricky because they're a bit of a blend of the macronutrients.
Sure.
But if we promote those foods to them, they're going to get the right macros that we want, but they're also getting all the fantastic things that come with whole foods, your vitamins,
micronutrients,
phytonutrients, your fiber, your good fats that are going to have huge benefits to all areas of health and performance. So they're the ones that we want to try and promote, but they just found that more tricky. So my line of thinking was, right, how can I shape meals so they intuitively and simply know what to go for? And the first point of call was, right, can we group meals into these broad categories that footballers, but anybody is interested in? So 1, performance; 2, body composition; and 3, health. We thought carbohydrates can go quite easily into performance because they're our most efficient fuel source. So if we can rely on them mainly, we're going to be a bit faster, we're going to be a bit more efficient. We thought there could be arguments around this, but for body composition, we went with protein because it's really important for staying lean, because it has a high satiety, has the lowest net calories, it can help boost your metabolism. Also, if you want to increase muscle mass, it's key as your building blocks for muscle if you want to get bigger from an athletic frame point. And then health is a bit more complex, but we came up with this concept called the health score that was super objective. So that quantified your RDAs of your important vitamins, your minerals, your fibers, and your fats, and the likes that we've already talked about. So we divided that into kind of a pie chart, and then we give it an intuitive name, an icon, and a color that made it really simple, that was a right constitution of meal for your goal. I appreciate this is very visual, so it might be hard to try to visualize. And then we also, obviously, we realized that calories are also important. So we invented a real intuitive layer to that called the calorie load gauge. And that's sat on the outside of the pie chart. And thankfully enough, that all looked like a plate. So we called it the Colour Fit plate. And that seemed to work really well. All we were saying to the players was what we call performance fuel was green. So we were saying to the players, when you're coming up to training or hard game, look for a bit more green on your Colour Fit plate and a bit higher calorie loads. And when you're not, a bit less green, a bit more of what we called health or lean muscle, and lessen the calories down to more moderate levels. And that, like I said, you'll achieve all those things of being able to perform when you want, stay nice and lean, and be super healthy.
Yeah, it's great to have those heuristics, even, as you know, for professional athletes who are busy, there's a lot of demands, and how can we, on the one end, you can have the practitioner who has an idea of grams per kilo, but at the same time, we can accomplish the same thing by having just a general heuristic and view of the plate like you provide here, which then achieves the outcome without necessarily having to overburden even the athlete. And of course, staff or whomever can have more of the back end numbers, but
certainly doesn't have to be the Colour Fit plate as well. I'd like to say I've got disservice to my book and sales and everything, but there's loads of examples out there, and I just adapted what's a Colour Fit plate from ideas that already existed with the government healthy plates that you see around the world that framework meals into different goals as well. So it's more along your vegetables and salads, your protein sources, and then more your starchy carbohydrate sources in there as well. So it can be approached from multiple planes. It doesn't have to be specific for what I've done. I just thought that was the most intuitive layer, because beyond just having the names, it has the colours, it has the icons. So even it came about from my 6-year-old son being near me when I was designing it, and he knew the objective of all the different meals. So we went with that.